Hi everyone. Journal 82 today. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about the calendar in this specifically. The crown and the cage god that's this, what I'm holding up. A month ago, Marie and I were in Mount Angel, this little town. We were on a walk, and she filmed me for a minute, and I just complained about our this calendar that we live in. And I'm going to echo some of those complaints here as I talk about this one. I'm not going to disclose every detail in how this calendar maps onto ours, but you can actually find that in journals 37 through 42. That's your key. If you want to know exactly how our calendar and that one sync up, you can use that. And then in journal 73, I talked about when I wanted to release the book, or the date that I was aiming for, and I said it was like when the barrow beetles emerge. I was 11 days late, and so that tells you when that holiday arrives. But let me just read it. Let me read journal 82. July 13th, 2024, the calendar in The Crown and the Caged God. Hi, everyone. Readers of The Crown and the Caged God have asked a lot of questions. Some of those questions are frequently asked. The second most frequent one goes something like this. There's no Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, no January, February, or March. What gives? Quite a lot gives here. Let's start with weekdays. Sunday and Monday are fine, but I prefer seasons, not days, to be named after the sun and moon. As for Saturday, even if Saturn were merely a planet and not a Roman god, its presence would place Gaia in Earth's solar system, so it would have to be actual Earth, as opposed to Earth-like and conceivably the planet we all know and love. Tough love, though, the kind that says, I'll give you something to cry about, Earth. And the remaining days, Tyr's Day, Odin's Day, Thor's Day, and Frigg's Day, would make no sense in the secondary world, unless it, too, was inhabited by Norse gods. As for the number of days in a week, that doesn't even make sense on our planet. The only month that's divisible by 7 is February on a non-leap year. Other cultures had more mathematical calendars, like the ancient Egyptians. They divided their months into 3 10-day decans, perfectly divisible, but a bit long. The ancient Romans, like the Beatles, had 8-day weeks, which were eventually trimmed to 7. Had they simply shaved off one more day, they would have arrived at the perfect length for 30-day months. My 6 days are Aldos, Liros, Pheros, Neros, Eldos, and Syros. In Book 2, I reveal the meanings of those words. The names of my months are also different, because January, March, May, and June are named after Roman gods and goddesses. Julius Caesar is July, his grandnephew is Augustus Caesar. Even the months that have numeral prefixes, September, October, November, December, don't fit their prefix. It's not months 9 through 12, it's 7 through 10. And how do those months articulate with the seasons? Arbitrarily. Spring begins on March 20, summer starts on June 20, the first day of fall is September 22, and fall turns to winter on December 22. My months and seasons are more synchronized. They even share nomenclature. My seasons are Arzox, Lilar, Rhinoa, Lufoa, and Elium. And my months are first Arzox, second Arzox, first Lilar, second Lilar, first Rhinoa, second Rhinoa, third Rhinoa, first Lufoa, second Lufoa, third Lufoa, first Elium, and second Elium. With 5 weeks in each, that's 360 days. After those months have passed, there's an intercalary period, a brief sabbatical called lamenting, where we reflect on the year that happened, honor those we lost, and greet the changes that await us at Arzak Sayofa, first sun in Lavarakan. Remember how the Egyptians had neatly divisible 30-day months? They also affixed a 5-day intercalary month to the end of their 360-day calendar. Unless it was a leap year, then it was 6 days, a perfect week in my calendar. Accordingly, every 4th year has a 6-day lamenting, and every 8th has a New Year's Day falling on an Aldos, first day, and the full-length lamenting ending on a Syros, last day. These are especially celebratory sabbaticals. On actual Earth, 3 planets in from actual Saturn, we have a period of lamenting too. We just call it Christmas to New Year's while we're requesting time off work. That's 8 days though, a full week according to the timekeeping of both ancient Rome and classic rock. And 8 days is longer than it needs to be. But that's hardly the worst thing our calendar does, i.e. daylight savings. When the last region on Earth finally stops punishing us with that, I propose we give up the rest of the nonsense, flush the Gregorian baby with the bathwater, and replace it with my system. Okay, that's it. That's my calendar. I mentioned that I don't like having like Norse gods and Roman gods as influencing my vernacular, because I have internal languages. I have my own languages. They started in the West. The oldest language in Crown and the Cage God, my book, I was pointing at it, is Old Adonian. It's in the West. That's where the languages began, and they migrated through the South with the people, with the speakers, and then into the East. And so the newest languages are Eastern. But they're like appendages of the original words, some root words in there. Some words just survived intact, they're whole, never went extinct, never evolved. Other words just went extinct. They didn't survive the migration. But most words underwent change. So you can usually find some sort of influence when you see words that are from the West, from the South, from the East. And the Eastern language Lonveracan, from Lonveraca, I guess obviously, is what the calendar comes from. The vernacular for the calendar. During lamenting, they perform the Urdros, or the Urzi. It's a dance. There are 5 movements in that dance, and it's Arzox Siofa. It would be the first one. I mentioned that one in the actual journal as first son. And then Liler, which is a contraction of the words Livaler, meaning arrival of morning. And then it gets into Rhinoa Visire, which means Gaia variation, and then Lufoa Visire, which means the moon variation. Those are the longest dances, and they're also the longest seasons. And then the last season is Elium. And the Elium, there's some, you can see influences, like even Lufoa, like lunar Lufoa, you can see the similarity of Earth words finding their way into my languages. And Elium is another one. In the Hebrew Bible, Elohim, right, there's God. God has the final word. Elium is the final season. It's also the final act in an Urdro. So there's some influence. I'm just really cautious about what sources I allow to cross over into my secondary world. So I'll end there. And I hope wherever it is in our normal Earth calendar, that you're finding this season agreeable. And I hope you find immersion in things other than calendars, in whatever your entertainments are, or your career. That's even better. If you can immerse yourself in your career and find pleasure in that, I hope that for you. Okay, bye everyone. I will see you soon.